Hi and welcome to this video about using balance pads. The balance pads I'm using in this video are just ones from Amazon. I have 4. This horse is really established at using balance pads. But if you're starting at the beginning, I'll walk you through that process. Why should you use balance pads? It helps to improve the horse's weight distribution left to right, front to back. It can also help with the rewiring of neuro pathways so that the horse begins to understand a little bit more where they are in space. Can also help with the nervous system as well, because you're working on proprioception, spatial awareness, and all of those good things. What you do to start with: pick the balance pad up, pick the foot up, put the horse's foot on the balance pad. Now you are destabilizing, so if the horse isn't used to an uneven surface, sometimes they'll touch the pad and then retract the limb again. So if that happens, you just repeat. Now you always start with the front so that the horse can then get established with an easier area to do before you then move on to the hind feet. In the beginning, the horse may not want to stand on the balance pads for very long. You just let them stand for however long is necessary and then let them walk off. So she finds it very easy. However, she's still weight shifting, moving her feet around and adjusting herself. So that's important information, but we just let that process happen. Quite often in the beginning, they will zone out a little bit and maybe wobble around. That's completely normal. You can make this part of a regular routine. There's also a progression as well of how to make it a little bit more difficult once your horse has that balance and proprioception a little bit better. You can also use these and do exercises on the balance pads to increase thoracic sling lift, to help with limb placement, etc., etc. So once the horse has had enough, you just let them come off. So we don't force them for any length of time. You then just let them walk around a little bit, let them find the different feeling of being on, again, a different surface. You don't have to use an arena to do balance pads. You can do them anywhere. So in the stable, on the yard, in the barn, whatever that looks like, it doesn't matter. Then once you've had a little walk around, if you're starting at the beginning, you can repeat the front feet again. If you want to move on, you can then move on to hind feet. So you have the same process. Lift up a hind foot on the pad. She knows it all so well. She does it by herself. So good. And then you just go through the same process. So sometimes, again, when you destabilize the hind end, again, they might touch the pad and then be a little surprised that the surface is uneven. They also might wobble around a fair bit. So it takes a lot of stabilization. So she's shifting a little bit. Yeah, so she'll then re-find it herself. So she's just playing with what feels good, what doesn't. And so then if she wants to come off, I just let her. You can also progress these to 4 feet. Again, it's the same process. So pick up the foot, let the horse find the balance pad. So she has been taught to actually step on these herself. So I don't need to pick up the feet. So we find the balance pads, the same process. Then you go to the hind feet. Obviously here you are destabilizing everything. So build up to this. Build up for, build up to time on the balance pad. Build up to each section. You can also play around as well with doing left side, right side, diagonals, and also stacking them as well. So once your horse gets confident, you can then play around with stacking balance pads on top of one another, creating a little bit more destabilization, but they need to build up and feel confident with that. You should see quite a difference in them being able to realign the body quite quickly, but also just be mindful that sometimes when they have compensations in their body, they can do the balance pads using the compensations. So like here, she's falling into that left shoulder. So then we want to make sure we work a little bit with that, and understand, okay, we want to try to load all 4 feet. She wants to make it more advanced than it actually is. So yeah, really useful exercise, can be done when the weather is bad, can be done, a couple of times a week, just improving that proprioception, improving the ability to find and rebalance when they get destabilized. So it will help with building their confidence and building their ability to balance. Then once we have finished, we then walk away. So let them calibrate what's gone on when you walk away. So you can also progress all of these exercises. So for her, I have allowed her to step on so she can find that herself. And then, good girl. So she has that ability then to find the thing. That's another level of proprioception and understanding where they are in space, being able to touch a target, and so on. So these are really useful exercises, and especially if you are at the start of your balance journey. So balance is huge for horses, and a lot of the time they are massively overloaded through the forehand. And so just taking them through these exercises, what you're also doing here is you're allowing them to find it for themselves. So then it becomes a lot more relevant because you're not telling them where to be, they are figuring that out for themselves. So it's a really useful exercise to help, especially in the beginning. And as I say, you can then advance the exercises, teach them to manage themselves on the balance pad, step on, step off, do exercises on them as well, but just do it a little bit at a time. They are very useful, but if you overdo it, then it is not helpful because the horse will lose confidence. Maybe then they're using the wrong muscles because they're just not strong enough because you haven't allowed enough time. So progress it over time so that the horse can really find, I can find this balance, I can evenly load. Any questions, just drop them in the comments. If you want to know where these balance pads come from, I'll leave them in the link below the video. Thanks for watching.